Mhm. Hey, hello everyone. Good to see you all. Glad you're dropping. I'm sorry I wasn't able to stream yesterday. With time just kind of got away from, but also I was kind of tired yesterday, so I figured I'd actually do it today instead. Glad to know you're doing well. You're doing well, Shay. Good to see you. And so I figured while doing it, I'm just kind of do maybe more of a simpler drawing of probably of someone kind of playing guitar. I'm actually loosely basing it off on someone I actually went to go see him last night. Well, actually not last night. I had saw him earlier, this past Friday. I went to go see an artist by the name of Joe Jackson. And for those who don't know, Joe Jackson, he was a I'm not talking about Michael Jackson's daddy. I'm talking about a British musician from back from back in the really like late 70s, early 80s. And the cool thing about him, yeah, he kind of had different variety of genres back in the day. So started out as more as like say like kind of like a punk and new wave type of artist. But then over time he went more pop. Then he actually went jazz for a while, and then he went classical. And nowadays kind of stuff he kind of does a met all those different things together. And when I went to go see him, I saw him at the local venue here in town. And basically what it was, it was in promotion for his new album that just came out earlier this past March. I think it was called Fools and Fury. I think it's what it was. I think that's what it was called. And it was a really great show. And cool, especially since this is an artist I've listened to for a long time, but I've never got around to got really a chance to at least see him live. Because I think the last time he was in town was a couple of years back, and I didn't realize he even was in town. And so I definitely want to get a chance to actually meet him, see him this go around. And I think if what he did this time for the tour is that he kind of like a smaller band, because I know in the past like he's had bands at different sizes. I know at one point he had actually a pretty big band at one point, like a literal big band for his music, but now he's kind of down to like a smaller one where basically it was just like it was him on singing on piano, got one guy on bass, one guitar, which guy I'm drawing here, and one guy that was one with percussion. Go with a new picture of music dancing parents. That piece goes all chance. Oh, nice! Glad you work on a new picture. Yeah, I hope that having. I hope you get a chance to see it once it's done. Cause I know what about to say? What about to say? Cause I am planning to work on a new drawing for a new drawing I'm doing of Manny. Thing I'm doing like for the him at ToonCon thing. I meant to have it done like earlier like yesterday afternoon, but time just kind of got away from me. So a lot of things kind of happened. So I know like previously before that I had to go to show that Friday, that Thursday, I had to work pretty late because of course I had my day job to my day job because I had my first day job that was that morning, and after a brief break in the middle, I had to go to my second job later on that evening at Publix. And what had happened was we had a much larger crew than usual. Apparently, like the vice president of Publix was supposed to be our visiting our store like later on the day for like an inspection. So our manager, they really wanted us really to actually do a big of a job. But once they got to the point where we're pretty much there almost all night for it. Yeah. All my piece inspired by a dance of swans or swan lights. Oh, nice. That's really nice. Yeah, let me see. Let me kind of get his hands here. Let me just kind of bring them out. And I figure let me just kind of bring the arms out a bit more here. And let me see. Let me just kind of get the neck of his guitar here. Yeah, and something else I was gonna mention too. And, after I kind of got home pretty late, of course, I had to get home. I had to bring out some stuff I had for a charity donation. So here in town, where I am, we have an outreach program that actually does like donations where you can actually donate you like clothes, donate various like household items, and they'll come pick them up. But yeah, luckily I'd already had all this stuff kind of ready to go, so all I had to do was I had to just bag them up and just take them outside. And basically, the stuff I take out was really just like older clothes, that family doesn't really use anymore. But also, I went and let go some old art materials. So what I did is I kind of went in my closet, like found some old like art materials I wasn't really, like use that wasn't really using, and I decided to go ahead and actually just, like I let them go. Plus, I figure, like some folks are out there that really want some art supplies, and they don't can't really, and only have it at the moment. At least they can actually use them now. Hey, hey, yes, hello. Glad to see you dropped in. Good to see you. Glad, hey, glad to see you drop in. Wonderful. How are you guys doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing really well. Yeah, I thought I kind of do kind of a, after I do kind of a stream today, like since I didn't do one yesterday, and so I figured I kind of do more of a simple drawing. Just kind of got kind of playing guitar, like since I didn't have a chance to really do one yesterday. And weird thing what happened is I know even once because even after I came back from that show the other night, is that like I was still kind of tired that next day, so I figured, nah, I think maybe I'll probably skip kind of doing a stream yesterday. I figure I'll do it today where I have a little bit more energy and I have a little more I'm a little more prepared for it. Let me kind of get the inside of his shirt here. There. I found reference of image on animation backgrounds, the blogs. I look at different anime cartoon backgrounds. Oh, cool. You know, I Damn back. I think I've heard about animation backgrounds. I think I might have came across that in the past. Now that I think about it, because I remember I used to do a lot. Well, I still do every now and then. Where I've kind of gone on these like old like animation blog sites where they talk about like different, where they talk about like animation history. Like some backgrounds about like certain like studios and it's different like. And I've always loved it when they talk. Because I remember I came across one thing was called Yelp. I think it was WY. It was it was no, it was YOWP Yelp, and it was based and Kelly does a lot of like old stuff based on old like Hanna Barbera stuff. And it was cool because it kind of gave like background information on not just Hanna Barbera but even along different animators, some of their history of what that stuff they did like before and after Hanna Barbera. And even one of the things I always really like to do is how they broke down the animation breakdowns. Or basically, they took maybe an old cartoon from maybe sure, and it kind of broke down like what animator did what. And it's really cool because from there you actually kind of really learn how each animator approached on their characters. Because some people had very distinct drawing styles. Other folks had very distinct ways the animator had the characters move, or they often did like very specific scenes. And because I know, for example, I think one good way where that's really more was very evident is probably in old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Because I know one of the things I always like doing is I used to study like really old cartoons, probably the really early 40s, especially at probably between like say 42 and 47. Because that was under this period where their design was still kind of going through a kind of evolution where they were moving away from that scruffier like the scruffy like cat and mouse like design where they have more of a realistic design versus later on when they went to a more anthropomorphic design that was actually more that was actually more those were more suitable for like slapstick. And um so and so there was a few M's I was actually able to kind of like find out about. One in particular was Ken Muse. Now Ken Muse, he was the one who had very fluid animation. He was also one who had these really sharp, really sharp, expressions. And he was often a great personality animator too. And what's funny about him is that he actually used to work at Disney beforehand, and it really shows with Disney because his work was almost most fluid out of all the animators for Tom and Jerry. And another side thing they would do is like oftentimes whenever time the characters move, he would kind of have the characters blink just to add a little bit of like extra realism to them and make them seem a little more alive. And then on top of that, top of that, then you have someone like Ray Patterson, who was another guy where sometimes his pose would be a little bit more snappier. It wouldn't be as fluid, but they very snappy. But I think his expression would be a lot stronger. And when he would draw their eyes, he would kind of draw his eyes a little bit closer together. And another image we have is Irvin Spence. Now, Irvin Spence, he was kind of like the wild card of the crew because he was a guy that normally did all the very like wild takes where like eyes pop out of their head, jaw drops. He would usually be the guy that would actually do, though, kind of do those scenes. And interestingly enough, he kind of indirectly kind of brought that Tex Avery influence, in a lot, influence in a lot of their cartoons. Even though Tex Avery himself never worked on cartoons, the closest that he had was I think was Irvin Spence because Irvin Spence worked on Tex Avery cartoons before he started working with with Hanna Barbera for Tom and Jerry. I tried to ask characters to create illustrations. Yeah, yeah, and backgrounds they can always be very kind of tricky to do. It'll be tricky to do depending on what type of scene you want. If you want to do like a simpler background or something that's a little more complicated. Cause I actually been funny. If I remember back when I was getting into drawing, I was getting to drawing cartoons. I remember I would kind of study different backgrounds. Like I remember I came across some blog sites where they would actually talk about where they actually show something like some old like animated backgrounds from these Tom and Jerry cartoons. And of course, I'll kind of practice drawing and see how they would look. And of course, because I was also drawing the characters as well, I'll kind of draw like full on scenes with them. Let me see. All right, that looks good. Now, trying to see. I have a photo reference. I have a photo reference on my phone. I'm kind of like referencing, by the way, because the guy that I'm drawing is actually was one of the guitarists that was in Joe Jackson's band. Actually, no, maybe I'll have it come down. I was thinking I'd have it taper down at the bottom, but I figured maybe I'll just have it kind. I think I'll have it kind of fold down over his legs because he kind of like a zoot suit thing kind of going on, which was neat. That very purplish kind of zoot suit thing going on, which I thought was pretty cool. Speaking of zoot suits, I still think about that episode with Tom and Jerry, where it's called the Zoot Cat, where Tom was trying to woo this girl, but he was wearing that orange with that green pinstripe zoot suit. Joe, that's honestly one of my personal favorite like Tom and Jerry shorts. Tom and Jerry shorts because everything about it just works. Like the humor works great, the music's great. Of course, it helps. It's actually one of the few times I think Tom and Jerry actually did talk. In the initial talk in the original cartoons, and let me see. Yeah, I think I'll have the drug drop down because zoot suits they tend to droop down a bit. Are you going to Essex next month? Oh, nice. Going on vacation? Well, I hope you have fun. Hope you have a really good time. Yeah, I still need to kind of visit the UK one of these days. My parents, I know my mother and my sister, they got a chance to visit there a couple of years back. They say it's beautiful over there. So yeah, so that's definitely like, dude. Animator, hello, good to see you. I'm glad you dropped in. I don't think I've seen you here in my streams in a while. I'm glad you ever drop in. Really great to see you. Really wonderful. Yeah, so let me actually kind of get the drape around his clothing here because I know since he had this large suit that kind of drapes down, I think I'll make sure I have some of these extra folds. And let me kind of add it around here. We got these extra folds. Yeah, I am thinking about using. I am planning on using my acrylic marker for this one because this thing is going to be in color. Yeah, is this on here on too on TikTok as well? TikTok too. Yeah, right now this stream is only on YouTube. Even though I do occasionally stream on TikTok as well, I only use it on different days. Like TikTok, I usually do my streams over there on you're there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I usually do those like late in the evening, probably around like 10 or 11 in the evening. But these streams here I do on YouTube, I normally do them on Saturdays. Saturdays around 11. But I ended up having to do it today because I was kind of like because I was kind of busy, like yesterday. Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do dual streams where I can do it on both sides. But I figure, like keep doing it just one at a time, that's a little more simpler for me for right now. New pencil for lunch, I said electronic. Cool. You funny if in fact that reminds I need to go and get myself another new electronic pencil sharpener because the one I got, it's not working anymore. So I need to get around to get myself, a brand new one. Let me kind of get his other let me kind of get the other leg here. Let me see. How am I gonna do his back foot here? Well, I'll get to that later. Let me kind of get the rest of the guitar here. Add the part of the body of his the body. Let me get the neck of his guitar as well. Let me actually kind of get. I'm trying to think. Do I want to have it draped on his right shoulder, or have it draped on his left shoulder? Let me think. No, I'll have it draped on the other one. Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and do that. I don't care if I'm making too many marks over here, since I am going to use some acrylic markers to kind of start doing all my coloring here. Let me kind of get. That's that. I watched your TikTok libraries. I want to check up on that Arnold drawing you did. Oh yeah, so I do have that all drawn on me. So it's actually my other sketchbook. Like, let me bring it out so you can show you guys. Honestly, it's pretty cool to actually run across some of the folks here that actually watch you from my TikTok live streams. So yeah, this is how that drawing turned out. So I did end up coloring the whole thing in. And that'd be pretty fun streak, of course, on top of drawing artists, that was the first time in a long time since I've drawn Arnold before, but also got a chance to talk about, the show, because I've been kind of going on, because really what I've been doing a lot lately is that I've been kind of rewatch a lot of, like, Hey Arnold stuff on YouTube. And maybe I've been looking at some of these old, like, commentary videos, especially, one, I know I mentioned this earlier last week, I've been watching, Dusk Till Dawn. He's the guy who kind of does like these kind of long form videos. We kind of talks about dark side here. We talks about certain episodes and talks about kind of like, and they're actually pretty cool to play on, especially as good background noise, but also it's a guy here and talk about different stuff too. So his stuff was pretty good, and so this is pretty fun too because it was a nice simple drawing of him dancing here. I think while I'm at it, I think I'll show you some other stuff I've been working on here. Cause I haven't really done too many as far as actual sketches go. Like here's just some more like doodle stuff I got here, and let's see where's the other stuff. Oh yeah, here we go. And of course, here's stuff I did for the comic I'm currently working on with my character Manny for him at going to a convention. Of course, like it says here, one way to avoid for long lines like this, you gotta pay extra for VIP access. But chances are, if you're like him, you're not gonna want to have to do that. So you may just either may want to tough it out or just actually try to get there early. Or in his case, who has more alternate way of actually getting to a con. He does it. And of course, we kind of does a where he kind of uses his microphone to kind of like kind of skip past the line. And attention guests, the entrance to the con has been moved to the other side of the venue. And of course, it caused a crowd to disperse, much to the surprise, of the staff here. But of course, you don't realize even when you get the front of the line, you still have to be checked for security for your bag. So of course, I must if you're with invention, it's best to bring a clear bag. That way, it'll make search, it'll have it make have the bag search a lot quicker. To do something about that for Toon June. I think I did see you post some stuff you did from Toon June. Yeah, I think I did come across it. It was pretty nice. I thought about doing doing maybe a drawing like from Toon June, but time just kind of got away from me. Plus, I didn't. Plus, I hadn't decided the time if I wasn't doing some Toon June, like what was I gonna do? If I wanted to do something every day, if I wanted to do something, every other day. That was something I hadn't figured out. I hadn't figured out for Toon June. I feel like one of these days I do want to actually do something where I was a little more, do something that was a little more Toon June related. I'll probably do something like every day for that whole month. But also when it comes to these everyday drawing challenges, I'm more I usually tend to stick to just doing stuff on on Inktober, like Drawtober, in October. 'Cause at least in October, that's kind of become my day where I'll just do something like draw something every day. That's kind of become my go to, like draw go to like drawing period. So I figured for today my draw today for coloring this guy, I think I'm gonna use these new acrylic markers I got. I'm gonna use these I found at Hobby Lobby earlier this week. These are like 24 colors, and these had like 29.9. I might still use some of the other ones I got in my collection too. But I know the first thing I am definitely gonna do, I'm actually gonna color in his actual guitar neck here. I think I'll use that to kind of go over. Use that. I'm also gonna use let me do the inside, of his shirt. I might use a different color for that. Cause I know the guy's shirt, at least when I saw him, he kind of had more like an kind of orange yellowish thing going on. So I'll probably come back and so I'll probably use like a different color instead. One thing I will go ahead and do though, I am gonna actually use purple. I'll use that for a good majority of his use a good majority of his suit. Then I'll just use that to kind of go over our lines. And we gotta get the neck of the guitar. I do show playing Granite. One of my favorite ideas always. Oh, cool, excellent. I think I did. I don't know if you had posted already, but I think I did see post already. But if you have, I'd like to see it. Lovely, amazing, JJ picture of Arnold. Hey, thank you. I'm glad you liked it because I think that I'm glad you like it. I think that's the one I did. I did that I think earlier this past I think it was a Tuesday, it was a Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday when I did that one. Yeah, that stream where I did that ended up being a pretty fun one. And let me kind of get. Let's see, I may post that on June 19th. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I'd definitely love to see it. They're gonna have that pan legs kind of actually kind of fold over his kind of fold his over his shoe here. Yeah, I actually kind of like these new markers. I like that it has like a brush nib going on. Yeah, these brush nibs are a lot easier to work with because they're not because they don't end up kind of like getting into the paper like some of the other end up kind of like getting to the paper like say the rather like felt tip nib ones do. I don't know why, but Albert reminds me of Willy Wonka. Oh yeah, I can definitely see the resemblance. And I know I mentioned it earlier. I know I probably mentioned earlier in the stream. This is actually based on the one musicians I saw when I went to go see Joe Jackson earlier this past Friday. And they had a really great band with him, but they actually had this guy that actually was in a purple suit like this, kind of purple combos, a Zutu type of deal going on. And what's cool is that in that group, they kind of play a mixture of his old stuff with the new stuff. Cause hit this guy on guitar, but he also had a bassist. In fact, the bassist, I forgot his name. It was Graham Marby. I think that's his name. But he has had been with Joe for about played for Joe for like for years. I think he's been on just about almost all the all his recordings. And it's really impressive considering how much not only this band has changed up so much over the years, but even the style of music is played too. Because they started out as more like punk and new wave, then they went more pop, then they went jazz for a while, then they went classical, and they kind of gone back to doing that. So he's been kind of stuck through. So he's pretty much kind of stuck by him, for pretty much for about pretty much since the very beginning. I'm trying to think, what do I want to do? Because I even have like a photo of him. Oh man, I forgot. I forgot his hat was green, not blue. He was green, not purple. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot that. Okay, well you know what? I might still be able to actually might still be able to save it. Hmm. Oh, I might still be able to save this. Let me try this. Let me try layering over it with this hat and see if that'll cover some of that purple. I think what I will do with that instead is that I'll do this first do one layer with this first, even though this paint's pretty thick enough already, just to kind of cover up a lot of that purple. Okay, that worked out all right. Fred Chopin's that's incredible. I've heard. Oh yeah, Fred Chopin stuff. His stuff was pretty good. Yeah, in fact, I think I remember. I think back the few times I tried playing piano. I tried playing some of his stuff. It looks good either way. Yeah, though. Yeah, though. Gotta save it. Yeah, but at least with the acrylic markers, that kind of part is I kind of like using, like using them. Say if I make a mistake, depending on which ones I'm using, I actually kind of go over and kind of cover them up. But I think what I'll do is I'll probably just let this dry for a little bit longer before I decide to actually go over it again with some more green. Yeah, I think I'll use this for the guitar here. Let me just kind of color this car because I know his guitar was kind of green too. Yeah. And what's funny, the photos I'm using is actually one I took while I was at the show. And funny, if I was kind of a little further away, I had a good view of the band, but it's like, all of that wasn't really close. And even though even though I was kind of far away, I actually didn't mind because the sound was great. Also, the show was sold out too. I was afraid that I was gonna miss I was gonna miss the show initially because when I looked up online, I saw it was sold out. So I was like, oh, hold on, let me see, if there's still any tickets left, or at least some tickets, where there's tickets available online where online's like for rebate for resale, and sure enough, there was. Yeah, because it's not a show I want. Because one show I want to miss. I think I'll probably use I think I'll use maybe this maybe like a dark blue like for his tie here. Oh wait, I think I do have like let me see how this have sort of like an old and orange. Let me see how that looks. Let me see. I think I'll use that for the flesh. I think I'll use that instead. You know, it's pretty opaque. It's not covering up all the lines, which is the lines I made, which is good. Use that to go on his hands here too. Cool. Okay, that now. Okay, yeah, it's at least starting to come together a little bit now. Let me see. I know it's. Let me kind of go over this. Yeah, I might layer over this with some yellow again, because I know his shirt was kind of more like a golden orange rather than like a bright orange. Let me use that for. I think I'll use gray. I think I'll use gray again for I think it was gray again for the guitar neck. Guitar neck. I think I'll use it on the guitar itself. Cool. Johann Strauss, all-time favorite composer, was a perfect man of TV drama where his family appears. Yeah, I've heard. Oh, I didn't know there was a TV drama about him. I might have to check that out. Yeah, I need to get on listening to more classical music. Because I'm familiar with Johann Strauss. Because I am familiar with some of Johann Strauss. I'm familiar with some of Frederick Chopin. I am familiar with my apartment I was saying Wagner. Because on Wagner stuff, I remember his stuff as being pretty heavy. Yeah, I've been meaning to kind of check more of his stuff out too. Because I know his stuff, he tend to have more. His stuff here was a very big influence on a lot of some of those heavy metal guys out there. Because apparently a lot of those guys would listen to him. Let me try that orange yellow here, see how that looks. Let me try going over the neck of his guitar, see how that looks here. I kind of like how that looks. I'm kind of deviating from what the actually I was actually wearing, but since I'm not drawing the actual guy, like since I'm not trying to fully replicate how that guy actually looked, I don't think I don't mind taking some liberties here and there. Let me see. Yeah, I'm a fan of Chuck Berry's fan of Chuck Berry. I like this music. Oh yeah, Chuck Berry was really good. You know, he's pretty much considered one of the considered one of the godfathers of rock and roll right there. Him and Little Richard. Because pretty much all like those main the main riffs that we associate with old rock and roll, they pretty much got started with him. Like a lot of those guys that were pretty good, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, even we go back in further, like Bill Haley in the Comets. Like speaking of old school rock and roll, well, even though it's not taking rock, it's really more surf rock. I know one guitarist I liked was Dick Dale. In fact, some people consider him one of the very first like shredders because he because his guitarist playing style was very like was very was kind of heavy with a lot of like heavy distortion, and he would play very fast too, so it gave it this like really big heavier sound too, and it's cool hearing him play back in the day, like in like the early like 50s and 60s, because like it sounds pretty heavy for that time. It's even fun when I think it came across one old video of him playing live to a club and seeing how everyone's kind of dancing music. In fact, a lot of it kind of almost looked like early version of like pogo dancing, because like there's people are dancing, but a lot of people like jumping up and down. Like this, keep in mind, this is well before like punk became a thing. Like in like the late 70s and early 80s. You got people who like they're doing like an early version of pogo like right here, even in the 60s. Let me see what. Let me try to use this darker purple I have here. Yeah, I'll use this kind of map out some of my to map out some of the folds here. Yeah, I think I'll just use it to kind of get some of these folds here. Oh yeah, this actually works out all right. I am planning on still using some I also plan on me actually using some ink pens like for the final color here. Let me try going back over his hat again. His hat again. This time I use a more like a brighter green this time around. Yeah, there we go. That looks much better. See, now you guys can't even tell there was a purple hat underneath here before. Someone asked if there was a purple hat here. I'll say what purple hat? Never existed. Let me see. Alright, let me see. What do I want to add next? Let me see. Let me just kind of stand back for a moment. I think I will go ahead and do now. I think I am gonna go ahead and actually start. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, hey, Brendan Barney, good to see you. Hey, glad to be able to kind of drop in. I know today's stream was kind of I ended starting a little later than I intended. Yeah, I'm actually just kind of drawing this guy on guitar here, just get you up to speed. Bass, I'm just kind of drawing this card that purple suit. I'm kind of basing off this guy I actually saw live when I go see Joe Jackson earlier this past on Friday. He had a pretty good band with him, but he also had this guitar that was actually really good. But he had this really kind of this like nice kind of like purple almost suit thing going on, and I thought that was so cool because you normally don't see people doing the zoot suit nowadays, but he pulled it off like really well. And so I thought I'd draw him. And the overall show was great too. So let me get my ink pens to kind of start actually doing the line work here. Let me see. Where did it go? Where did I put my pens? Hang on, hang on. Stand by, guys. Yeah, and the show was great too. Cause Joe Jackson, keep in mind this isn't the Michael Jackson's day. This was a different guy. He's a British. He's from the UK. I'm trying to figure what part of UK is he from. I'm trying to remember right. In fact, let me look that up real quick. Yeah, okay, British musician. So he was born in Burton upon Trent, Staffordshire, England. That's where he was. And so he was coming to the 70s. So I think the hits he's most known for, at least here in America, is Stepping Out and Breaking Us in Two. And it's one of those songs sometimes you'll hear and you probably heard in grocery stores, but didn't realize that was him. Stepping Out, that's the one that goes, Do age, stepping out. Like there's that one. And he also has that other song. What's that other song he has? Is she really going out with him? That's when it goes. Is she really going out with him? Like that's another one that he's done. Like he had quite a few hits throughout the 80s and 70s. And to my knowledge, I think when he did, he kind of, at least when I saw him, he did kind of mix up his old stuff with his new stuff. Cat's Game. Oh, it's a new story you got working on. Cat's Game. Ralph was a port I love Aaron's favorite games. Ooh, so it's kind of so it's not like a cyber chase. Like what's that? Not cyber chase. I'm thinking of That reminds of another. That reminds of an episode of Fairly Odd Parents. I can't remember the name right now. Just that problem reminds me of that, but I like that though. Yeah, that's really neat idea. So let me see which pen do I want to use. Okay, well I think I'm gonna leave. I'm glad I came. When's your next live though? My next one, well, my next official one will be on Tuesday, so that'll be around 10. So that'll be around 10, about 10 in the evening, if not a little later. I usually stream pretty late on TikTok on those days. But I'm glad you drop in. I'll leave very goodbye, Reggie. Good to see you, Shay. Glad you drop in. Power Mat, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Thanks, Shay. Yeah, thanks, Brendan. Because I knew it was an early episode. It was an early episode, but I couldn't remember what it was. And I got a stream up the other day. Oh, most definitely. I'm definitely planning on dropping in for that later on. But I wanted to try to get my since I was doing it, I want to try to keep mine fairly quick. Because I have other things I do later today, but at the same time, I want to make sure I get a chance to drop in for yours later on as well. So I didn't want mine to run for too. kind of run for too long, especially since I normally don't stream on on Sundays. And but the show was great, especially since I had only gone to too many shows like this summer. Because I think the only ones I really went to Joe, aside from seeing Joe Jack Macro Polo, the Career Sharks Breaking Polo tournament. Oh, that's a oh, I like that Macro Polo. Like Marco, I like that Macro Polo. The Career Sharks and Marble Polo Charlotte. That's another good one. Oh, I have a feeling like who's gonna win. And one, and considering it's gonna be against the Sharks and the Critters, I already know who's gonna win, especially in the landslide. But what else was I gonna mention? But I haven't really gone to many shows, like recently this summer. Because I know, like, Joe Jackson, that was the most recent one I did of this Friday. Well, this past Friday. But also, I went to go see another group I like, Fishbone, and they're more like a ska group. I saw them at kind of a mid-sized venue, like, earlier last month. And before that, I got a chance to see, yep, yes, indeed. Yeah, much better brains. And that's something you have when you're doing any kind of sport. Got better brains, you gotta be quick on your feet. And another one, oh yeah, I was trying to think. What was no one to go see was funny. If it was funny of all places, Deathlock of all places. For those who remember Deathlock, it was actually that group for that show on Adult Swim called Medpocalypse, and it was actually surprisingly a pretty fun show too. I think it was him and it was another group called Amon Amrath. It was actually a pretty good show. Of course, when I got to the venue, at least for that show, it took a time trying to get out of there because like first it took a long time to park because over here where I am here in Atlanta, it was over at this place called the Roxy, and Roxy it's like right in the little plaza where we have our stand where the Braves play. And unfortunately, it turned out that same day we went to go see that show, they were also having a game that day too. So all the big parking lots nearby the venue, they were filled up. I really was going to say, man, still hold up. Side note, I found data didn't get this zone. Oh, really? She wanted to have an offer from her mother. She wanted to return every chance. Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize that's how that played out. Still, that's still kind of yeah, so that's still tragic either way, though. But yeah, I still need to give that movie a rewatch. I think the last time I got I saw the movie in full, I want to say it was about a year or two ago. But yeah, but it is still a really good movie. I don't know if I said it here, if I said it here on my other TikTok stream. I still think of all the Disney movies that came out in the early the mid 2000s. I think Lilo and Stitch has the most heart out of all of them because, like I said before, while it's not really a sci-fi adventure like like Treasure Planet or um or like excuse me, losing my words here. Well, it's not really like a sci-fi or adventure kind of like Treasure Planet or like Atlantis, or is it like a big comedy like say like Emperor's New Groove? I think it's really nuts because it's like to me it's kind of like a nice like kind of like a family drama, disguised, it's kind of like a alien adventure type of story. But yeah, like it does. So I think it helps, with like not only like Davy's Chase, like as doing Lilo, but also that family bond they got going on, not only with Stitch, but also with her with Nani and the rest of the aliens as well. Because I think about how later on people with Frozen, people have a championship in Frozen, how they actually portrayed a bond between two siblings, especially between two sisters. I think I'd say Lilo and Stitch. I'd say that does it a lot better, especially seeing as how they're doing between two siblings that are of different ages. You know, if Lilo being a young, being a younger child, and Lilo, excuse me, sorry, get my words mixed up. Especially with Lilo being the younger two, and Naya pretty much taking over as the parent, even though she's not really the parent. Honor means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. Yet such true Yet such truer words have never been spoken. And well, I haven't even speaking of the movie, I haven't even bothered to check out the remake. But at least from what I've heard, I've heard the remake pretty much kind of goes against what the original original was trying to do. I heard the only good things about the I've heard about the remake was that the kid who actually played Lilo was pretty good. The effects on Stitch were actually all right, but other than that, apparently, like the overall movie kind of goes against what the original one tried to do. But I'm actually at a point now where I even kind of bother, with when I'm even bother with all these remakes, especially since now they're trying to, especially since now they're kind of doing remakes for movies that are not even 10 years old now, like that whole like that new Moana movie was trying to come out now. Yeah, touch of football. Yeah, me neither. Yeah, 'cause I'm at a point now with these Disney remakes. Like I'd rather just kind of here's what other folks kind of say about, or at the very least, I'll just wait till it comes out on streaming, even bother to look at it. Because at this point, I'm not. Because at this point, I'm not at the stage now where I'm really optimistic whether it's gonna get, where if I feel it's gonna get the spirit of the original films. Hiding, explain what's a hiding my jiggle compete some unfinished bits. Really? What type of business is it? You just want to try. What you want to try actually manage to reach top of the mountain? That sounds like pretty. Might have made his guitar neck a little. Might have screwed my guitar neck a little bit here. I could probably fix that a little later on. Maybe add some of the frets along guitar. I think I'll use that. Let me use some of the thicker drawings that I got. I think what I will use. Let me see if I have them on my brush pens. Let me see if I got that. Let me see. Let me see if I got it. Oh, good. Here we go. I think I'll use that for an outline. Just to make this thing pop just a bit more. I'm gonna use this little brush pen here. Yeah, I take on Mount again. It was kind of like, it's kind of like the Animalville version of like Mount Everest in a way. Let me just kind of go on the edge here. Let me just kind of go. Pretty much. Okay, cool. Excellent. Let me kind of read. Let me try going around this way. That's the only thing about these brush pens. Like sometimes I have to kind of really figure out how to angle myself and angle my hands in order to get those nice strokes I want. A punching a day. Tobias goes on a punching spree every time they hear a bell. So okay, you have control his action. That actually reminds that reminds that old Three Stooges short. I think it's the one I think like Curly. Anytime in Curly's a bell, he actually punches people. Yeah, like ding pow. I think I'll use this. I think I'll use it to get the side of guitar here. Let me see. It's first time in a while I've used this pen too, so still kind of getting used to using all the marks. Mm-hmm. Cool. I have a feeling that's probably what was like. That was probably the inspiration. Because I think in the sure I can't remember the name of it, but it's where I think they're I think the Stooges they were kind of training Curly to be a boxer. But I think in that yep that's the one. The Studio Pop goes the Weasel on the violin that triggered it. Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's been a while since I've seen Stooges too, because I remember I used to watch it a lot back when we had access to Turner Classic movies. In fact, that would be one of the few times I actually would bother to turn on Turner Classic Movies. Wasn't that? So it was either when Three Stooges was on, or also when they had I think it was Cartoon Alley. Yeah, Cartoon Alley. That's what it was, because that's when they would actually sometimes play cartoons on there. Because I remember they would have episodes where it was set around different. They had some set around Warner Brothers, some had some around Tex Avery, and some. And it was always pretty fascinating. It was kind of like a more chill version of like Toonheads. Now, now I don't know if you may or may not remember this one, but this one used to be aired on Cartoon Network way back in like the 90s, and they usually only aired it at night too, because they would air like little segments based on different like cartoons or periods, and they would air these really old cartoons. The Limp Sea Slug of Mine Shemp is actually in one suits. Yeah, I figure yeah, I figured that slug he was actually based on the Fourth Stooge. So I'm glad to see I was proven right. Oh, it's feathering on the side. I don't want to do that. I'm talking about the brush, mind you. Yeah, I remember kind of old movies on there. I think the only one that would I think one of the few that I would actually turn on to really watch is that Anchors Away. That's the one. That's that famous one where it has a sequence where Gene Kelly's dancing with Jerry from Tom and Jerry. But then the whole movie is actually pretty fun too, because it features both Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra. Two guys that were pretty popular back in the day. Gene because of course he was a pretty great dancer, and of course Frank Sinatra of course he was Blue Eyes and he was that big crooner singer. I tried doing the thick outline a few times on more up there where I do with Billy and Mandy. I know what that pain is like. Oh yeah, it's always tricky, with these brushes, especially these permanent ones. Yeah, I think I need to check that one you did with Billy and Mandy though, because I bet they probably look great in your style. Speaking of Billy and Mandy, one thing I regret not doing was that when I went to MomoCon here in town, when I was getting autographs, I went to get autographs from Tom River at Maniacs, but I remember about a few seats down from where he was, Richard Horvitz, the guy who voiced Billy, he was there, and I part of me wished I got a chance. And part of me wished I got a chance to do it. The only reason I decided not to do it at the time because he had a really really long line. Guys, I'm using Sharpies. Oh yeah, Sharpies. To be fair, Sharpies they tend to be very unforgiving too because they leave really really thick lines. Let me kind of go on the edge here on the bottom. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, especially sometimes depending on what type of like brush pen you ink, sometimes the ink doesn't dry all the way. So then you gotta be careful where your hands are too, because you don't want to end up smearing by mistake. I think I'm doing. I think after a little bit more of the line work here, I think I'll work on just a little bit more before I decide to go and call it for today. And even when I try to do it in ink, I always try to make sure it's kind of going within the flow of the pose. Yeah, I think I'll actually go ahead and actually call it here for today. At least for right. Oh, let me add a little bit on the strap of his guitar here. I think I'll add a little bit thicker line here so like it's actually going down him. The lost camera scoop loses cap the worst time. Oh no! For shooter one for answer eventually. I hope he gets it back. Because that is indeed the worst time to actually do it. To lose it. Okay, I believe that's actually going to be I think that's actually it for our actual guitar guy here. I may do a bit of tweaking maybe later on today before I actually start to post it online. But I think I actually am gonna call it here for today. So I and Mosette, yep. Yeah, that's what I figured this way. Emil Gazette. But that's like a good plot point for him. Definitely gonna be very dramatic. So I think I'll call them drawing here for now before I post it later on. So everybody, I appreciate all you ever here for today's stream. Yeah, Brent, I'm definitely gonna drop in for your stream later on this afternoon. But I'm glad you're able to drop in for today. And so I hope to see you. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I hope to see. Yeah, so I definitely plan on seeing you later on your stream later on this afternoon. Till then, for our streaming on here, hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.